Random House Audiobooks presents Of Love and Other Demons by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Read for you by Natasha Richardson.
Of Love and Other Demons. October 26, 1949 was not a day filled with important news. Maestro Clemente Manuel Zabala, editor-in-chief of the newspaper where I learned the essentials of being a reporter, concluded our morning meeting with 2 or 3 routine suggestions. He did not assign a specific story to any writer. A few minutes later, he was informed by telephone that the burial crypts of the old convent of Santa Clara were being emptied, and with few allusions he said to me, "Stop by there and see if you can come up with anything." The historic convent of the Clarissan nuns, which had been turned into a hospital a century earlier, was to be sold and a 5-star hotel built in its place. The gradual collapse of the roof had left its beautiful chapel exposed to the elements, but 3 generations of bishops, abbesses, and other eminent personages were still buried there. The first step was to empty the crypts, transfer the remains to anyone who claimed them, and bury the rest in a common grave. I was surprised by the crudeness of the procedure. Labourers opened the tombs with pickaxes and hoes, took out the rotting coffins, which broke apart with the simple act of moving them, and separated bones from the jumble of dust, shreds of clothing, and desiccated hair. The more illustrious the dead, the more arduous the labour, because the workers had to rummage through the remains and sift the debris with great care in order to retrieve precious stones and articles of gold and silver. The foreman copied the information that was on each stone into a notebook, arranged the bones into distinct piles, and placed a sheet of paper with a name on top of every mound to keep them all separate. And so the first thing I saw when I entered the temple was a long line of stacked bones, heated by the savage October sun pouring in through the holes in the roof, and with no more identity than a name scrawled in pencil on a piece of paper. Almost half a century later, I can still feel the confusion produced in me by that terrible testimony to the devastating passage of the years. There, among many others, were a viceroy of Peru and his secret lover, Don Toribio de Cáceres y Virtudes, bishop of this diocese, several of the convent's abbesses, including Mother Josefa Miranda, and the Bachelor of Arts, Don Cristobal de Eraso, who devoted half his life to building the coffered ceilings. One crypt was sealed with the stone of the second Marquis de Casalduero, Don Ignacio de El Faro y Dueñas. But when it was opened, they found it empty. It had never been used. The remains of his Marquesa, however, Doña Olaja de Mendoza, had their own stone in the adjacent crypt. The foreman attached no importance to this. It was not unusual for an American-born aristocrat to have prepared his own tomb and be buried in another. The surprise lay in the third niche of the high altar, on the side where the Gospels were kept. The stone shattered at the first blow of the pickaxe, and a stream of living hair, the intense colour of copper, spilled out of the crypt.